Welcome to the small garden in late May, where we've had a warmer than average spring. It's been pretty nice actually, until 10 days ago, blast of cold air from the north, and even there was a frost on the 11th of May, -1 degree air temperature here, which is that high, so at the ground level it was even colder. And actually I had already planted some tomatoes there, we'll see in a minute, but we had them under fleece, they're okay. And plants like these peas survive very well despite cold. What's slowed them down recently, actually, more than anything, is lack of sunshine. Today's the first really sunny day we've had for the whole of May. The sunshine total for May so far till 22nd was 90 hours, so that's 4.5 hours sun a day, which is a bit meagre, a lot of grey days, but not a lot of rain. The spring has been dry, 35 mil in March, 25 in April, that's about an inch, and 40 so far in May. So we're going to be watering plants like these peas, because when you see flowers and little pods developing, like here there's a little pod, nice little pod, that tells you it won't be long before they're really coming into cropping. And at that point, if you can really pile on some water, it won't be wasted. Peas are a very moisture loving plant, which is why they thrive from spring, even late winter planting, to get them going and to crop in early summer, not late summer. Late summer we can enjoy the climbing beans and things. So peas is an early summer harvest, and this is Hurst Greenshaft, which I'm just loving. I've saved my own seed, they're very easy to save seed from. So if you want to save pea seed, just maybe tie a ribbon or something, mark out one plant to remind you not to pick any pods from it and let them develop on the plant until they're kind of going yellow. That'll be your pea seeds for next year. You don't need that many. There's actually 6 plants we put in across the bed times 3, so that's 18 pea plants there. And Adam's done a nice sort of support mechanism, combining sticks with a bit of string. Many ways you can support peas, but this variety, Hurst Greenshaft, grows to around 4 feet, 1.2 meters, so that's about the height it needs. Actually, what I'm finding is in good soil like this, it'll grow more. Never mind, we can't, these sticks are only so long. And then here is strawberries, the variety Florence, which are just coming into bloom now, but not many strawberries on them, and that's because it's a late variety. So I'm happy to have late strawberries as well as early ones. We'll see in a minute, there's even the first strawberry is ripe. And it's good to think of it in those terms. There's quite a few catalogues you could browse to find suitable strawberry plants to give you long cropping. And even, you know, I haven't got any here, but ever-bearing strawberries will give you some later in the year as well. The broad beans are incredible. They've hardly stopped growing since they went in, the seed sown in early winter. And that's just one seed here has grown 1, 2, 3, 4 substantial stems all cropping. And then you get little secondaries coming off like that. And actually I've got no way of removing these because although it's got flowers on, I find they don't come to much because the plant puts all its energy into that main lot and then it kind of gives up a bit. So it will save a bit of plant energy if you remove these. We've done quite a bit of that this spring, remove these to compost, and it also opens up the space a bit. You can see the pods more easily. And then when do you pick the first one? To pick them, it's a sort of downward push that detaches it more easily from the stem of the plant. I'm feeling little beans in there, but for my liking, they're not quite big enough. You know, they are good. It just depends what you want. It's a personal choice. There's no right or wrong in this. But you can see this is a feasible harvest. I find that when they're this small, there's a higher proportion of skin to middle, and it's the middle which to me tastes the creamiest and sweetest. The skin is more bitter. So I would prefer to leave that for another 10 days maybe, and then the pod will be really quite fat. They're not getting woody or starchy or anything. They're still really nice and sweet. I'll resist eating those for now. And so we're going to have quite a heavy crop here. You know, it's not a lot of bean plants, but because of how they tiller, making several stems from one seed, it looks like you multi-sowed them kind of thing, but they do it themselves. That corner gets pretty wild, and Adam scythed it down about a week ago. Otherwise, it drops a lot of seeds onto the small garden, and there are still quite a few. There's quite a lot of speedwell and nettles, so quite often I'm hoeing in that corner and also removing bindweed and ivy from the fence. But most of the middle of the garden is pretty weed free. So with no dig, you know, you've got that beautiful option. And there it is, actually. This is interesting. I hadn't noticed that. We had a blackberry here, which I decided this wasn't the place. There's too much competition from the neighbours' woody plants. But there's one has survived, even the move. We'll see what happens, but it's not a plan. And then on this bed, yesterday I planted some dahlias. These are dahlias grown from seed. I like doing that because when you grow dahlias from seed, it's home safe seed actually as well. You never quite know what you're going to get because it'll be a cross-pollination of many types. So we'll see what colour they are when we come back. There's lettuce here which has been very productive, and we keep picking a very interesting range of varieties. The Saragossa is the one, Batavian, goes on the longest. The Cos, there's two Cos here. There's Paris Island Cos, which is normal productive green Cos, and there's this one which has a different kind of leaf, and it's got a bit of red in, and it's from my home safe seed, and I thought it was winter density, which is a green Cos, but near to it was also, I was growing a red lettuce, and they seem to have cross-pollinated, and this is not meant to happen. So it just shows how sometimes things don't go quite as they're meant to. And actually I prefer the green. I don't like these quite as much, but they're kind of nice, and it's something different. And they'll go on cropping for quite a long time. And then there's one other very different variety here, which is a red, something like a Saragossa. It's actually called Rubago from Premier Seeds. I didn't realise it was going to be quite this small. You can see that, you know, that's equivalent size, stage of growth and so on. So you don't get much from this. And I found that generally with red lettuce, and even if they're quite big, they don't have so much body to them, and the leaves go limp more quickly. So I just grow a few red lettuce to colour the mix, really. It's not because they taste particularly nice. While here we have a mixture of brassicas. So there's just one or two kohlrabi. Not big because they've been too overshadowed by plants all round. And also I suspect already the neighbours, like, look at the size of that cherry tree behind me. And it's rooting into this garden. And as soon as it dries up, like it has this spring quite a bit, you start to lose moisture and plants just can't thrive so much. I'm watering, and broad beans we've actually watered things here much more than elsewhere in the garden to compensate for that. But we are getting what looks like some promising cabbage. These had mesh over, which I removed just 5 days ago. And a bit of calabrese at the front, which is odd because the plant should be bigger before it makes a broccoli head like that. So again, I don't quite know what's going on. But I put coriander between, and it's the variety Cruiser. Just phenomenal. You know, the beautiful big leaves. I need to pick this big time because they will start to flower quite soon. But Cruiser is just a really good variety for early cropping and not going to seed too quickly. This is one empty space still, which has been waiting for either summer beans or courgettes or cucumber. I'm still a little bit uncertain what to plant here, but I think it's going to be cucumber. Because the beans, I probably won't do climbing beans, I'll do dwarf beans, and I can sow them between the lettuce very soon. So they can start germinating while the lettuce are finishing. And then I brought this one out from the greenhouse just to show you, to give you an idea. That's a cucumber La Diva. I'm even going to plant it mad. You know, it's like such a small plant. And I wouldn't do this if I didn't expect the weather to continue the same as today. You know, we're going to be 26 degrees, like 80 Fahrenheit today, which for us is quite unusual at any time of year, actually. But because of that, I'm safe. I know I'm safe, you know. These are not that old. They've only sown 3 weeks ago. I could have sown them a bit earlier, but I didn't want to have them too early. They were only potted on quite recently, but you can see some root there. So I'm going to put this in carefully and then just push it down a bit, not too much. I'll give it a bit of water. Normally I would put fleece over cucumbers because they're so sensitive to cold conditions and wind. But because of the fine weather now, it would actually be better to leave them open. They can even get too hot under fleece if it's weather like this. So I probably put 4 plants here, La Diva, and they should crop through the summer. The Tayberry, now in its 4th year, is resplendent with fruit. And actually, I need to water it now because, as I was saying for the peas, it's fruiting and it will really add to the crop. Because look at this, already in late May, there's some berries swelling and starting to change colour. I would estimate another 2 weeks before having really ripe fruit on that one. But giving it some water now. And Adam managed to do a really good job of the pruning on these wires. So this is next year's stem, which will need tying in when it's grown somewhere. And all of next year's stems are starting to grow, but this is last year's wood, which once fruiting is finished, say sometime in July, we'll cut out and remove and then train in the new growth. The Jostaberry is much easier than that because it's just a bush that actually quite responds to hard pruning. So I've pruned this one, I cut it back quite a lot. And you can see the berries. They don't look much at the moment, but they do get quite a good size. Jostaberry's gooseberry cross blackcurrant, I'm pretty sure I'm right in that. And Tayberry's loganberry cross raspberry. So it's like a slightly tart raspberry. And the black plastic here is because of bindweed. There's some crept out the edge. Many of you will know this plant. It's the hedge bindweed, the one that grows quite tall and makes white flowers. And I just thought, guys, save us a lot of time. The plastic will be down here only until October. And yeah, what I'm seeing is there's quite a bit around the edge we definitely need to remove. Otherwise the roots sort of keep going into the middle. And strawberries, look at this one. This is Marshmello. The first one is just ripening now. I might even have eaten it at that stage, except that we were going to film and I wanted to show you. Because you don't have to wait until they're perfectly ripe with strawberries. You know, even when there's a bit of white on them, they're still pretty tasty. The barrel. So these strawberries, I think you saw them in the last video we did here, as just little, almost dead looking plants. And they're taking well. They're going to give us a small crop this year. Watering is the question though. You can see I've planted the top with quite a lot of dill, coriander, lettuce, spring onion, which actually a lot of it needs harvesting now. And the way I'm watering is just to, got a stone here, put the hose in there and the stone on top to let the water drift down. I can't think of a different way to water. Whether that is getting enough water, I mean, it looks like it at the moment. But what I thought you might find interesting is if I just do a sample planting. God, these holes are only just fat enough for my dibber. I'm going to try something a bit different here, which is Greek basil. There's no way that pot's going to go in the hole, obviously, but it's quite recently potted on. So what I'll need to do is just rub off the excess compost. We can see the root ball quite clearly then. And see if I can get this, maybe squash it up a bit, into the hole. I'll do this one actually, you could probably see. I think it's going to work. Yeah. So there you go. I'm just kind of pulling the compost down a bit from the top. And I'll put another Greek basil here. And in the middle, this could be fun. So that's a chilli, Scotch Bonnet, which is more rooted, more challenging to plant. But even so, if I gently kind of give it a shake as well, just to get the excess compost out off it without damaging too many roots. This is how I'm doing it. You know, I'm not saying this is the only way or the right way, but I'm also pleased to notice actually that the compost that I'm planting into feels pretty moist. So I've made roughly big enough hole. Actually, I think this could work. So now I'm just pushing compost around these roots and we'll see what happens. And lastly, we have something a bit different going on here, which I had not foreseen. But a guy came to my open day last September. I'm having another one, by the way, on the 6th of September this year. And he said, I can do you a better tomato support than you've got, which was basically sticks and string tying the stems to the sticks. So he brought this device, which he's been developing. It's a metal frame with actually washing line, like you have on the sort of circular washing line, lengths cut for each tomato. And he put this frame up yesterday morning. The metal poles, they're not that strong. I mean, look at that. But he reckons he's done it for 4 years. So, all credit. Let's see what happens. Adam yesterday managed to secure the other end with a bit of cane on and bury it in a hole close to the tomatoes. So these are quite secure at the bottom, and we're just going to do them like in the polytunnel, twist the plants around them. We shall see. As you can see, there's a lot going on here, quite a bit of experimenting. We'll do another film in 6 or 8 weeks or so.